Veejay Archary, Executive Director of the Black Africa Group, a very warm welcome. The challenges of working in Africa. It's the perpetual conundrum that businesses in South Africa have. We're going to work through a couple of points this morning. First of all, you can't use a pan-African model. What are you saying to us?
Each country is very different. Each region is very different. What works in East Africa doesn't necessarily work in West Africa. What works in South Africa doesn't work anywhere in Africa. So you have to adapt to nuances on the ground. You have to adapt to challenges on the ground.
And the mistake I would imagine that many South African companies go into is that they see Africa as this homogenous market, which is the worst mistake they can make.
Absolutely. You have to understand, in one country, there's about 10 different tribes. In Kenya, for example, there's more than 100 different languages. So you're dealing with nuances even in a boardroom. You need to understand who's Kiswahili and who's Swahili, and then understand the differences between them, because the politics, even in the boardroom, is very different as well.
So the lesson here is, one, a little less hubris and arrogance, and the other thing is, do your homework a little bit better, read up before you actually try and make a foray into this market.
Absolutely. Not everyone is claiming to be African. In a boardroom, the CEO may be of a certain tribe, and he has opposition from his team members, and you need to understand those nuances as well. And I think most people don't understand those things.
And this would also inform the second point that you want to make about the barriers to entry, both formal and infrastructural. Explain that to me, and how do you overcome those?
Well, barriers are actually all in people's minds, firstly. It's very easy to do business in Africa. In South Africa, we have a great expression, we make a plan, a bull market plan.
Yeah.
And that's the lesson that we need to take in Africa. It's very hard to work on the ground. There's infrastructural problems. To get from the airport to a hotel to a meeting takes time. You're not going to get there in an hour. Yeah. You need to plan for that ahead as well. You need to be there on time and before. People need to kind of consider those things. You almost need to be slightly unstructured in a very unstructured environment as well. And that's the bit of South Africanness that we've got to take to the rest of Africa.
You also say that you've got to find partners that fit. You're also going to tell me that often before you find those partners in business, they're going to put you through a test. Maybe not on one occasion, maybe on 2 or 3 occasions. There's a game to play before you actually sit down and sign the documents.
Yeah, I think, because we kind of coming into Africa at this point in time, and Africa, the region of Africa is not new. People have been working in Africa for a very long time. So when you come as a second-rate pioneer, as it were, you need to learn that people that have come before have made mistakes. They've done things, they've almost changed the landscape in a way, so you need to almost correct it. So what happens is that you almost test it. I find that when I go to meetings for a new client potentially, I have to wait. So I have a 9 o'clock meeting in the morning, and by 12 o'clock I'm still waiting. I haven't been offered anything to drink. I haven't been offered any food. I'm just sitting and waiting. And I keep asking what's going on. And I said, no, he knows you're here and you've got to wait. At 5:30, you're worried about your flight and you've got to go. And that's part of the game.
But if you hang in there and you demonstrate goodwill and understanding and you pass the hurdle, you ultimately, if the fit is right, you're going to get the business.
I think they need to see that you're patient. They need to see that you have a sense of humility. I think they want to break that cavalier attitude that we have as South Africans. And we have to show them that we are the same.
You make another very interesting point, Veejay Archary. You say, understand street corner competition. What does that mean?
For brands to work in Africa, you need to realize that every person is actually a shopkeeper. Every person, like we were talking about Mumbai earlier, every person potentially can sell.
Every person is an entrepreneur, and
Absolutely.
They have no choice. They have to be.
They do. If you want in Lagos or even in River State, Nigeria, you want to send money to your friend or son at school, you call the nearest guy at the street corner who's selling ATM tokens or selling MTN cards. You send him the code on his phone, and 100 kilometers away he gets a code from the guy at the street corner. He sells it to somebody and he gets cash. It's the way the guys make business. If you want to buy the latest bestseller, it's available at every street corner. There's a guy selling something. He doesn't just sell. You can buy a couch at the side of a road. You could actually buy a goat at the side of a road. It's all available there.
toe dipping. You need to do this gradually. You're not, I think businesses have to understand that they're not going to arrive in the capital on a Friday and by the Tuesday they're going to have the deal sewn and locked and loaded. You have to, it's a gradual process.
It takes time, yeah.
How much time though? And we're a very impatient lot in this country, aren't we?
One of our clients is the government of Nigeria, and we did a lot of branding work for them. It took nearly a year to get that contract signed. It took more than 15 trips to get that contract signed. And it was going to and fro, to and fro. And it's not just one day being there, it's being there for a few days. It's meeting everyone, it's making sure that you're still on the agenda, you're still on top. And it's a huge amount of work that you have to do up front as well. But the paybacks are big as well.
Well, that's the final question to you. In spite of all the salutary advice that you've given us today, you would recommend nothing else. This is, you talk about the new frontier. We have no choice but to be there, but to understand the nuances.
I think if you want to learn how the world is moving and where it's moving to, this is the best place to learn from. There's so much happening in Africa, in developing world, that it teaches you new things that you don't actually get in textbook. And I think it prepares you better for business.
Veejay Archary, I'd like to continue talking to you, but I think you've got a plane to catch to Nairobi or somewhere. So thank you very much. Veejay Archary, Executive Director of the Black Africa Group. A pleasure talking to you, and thank you very much.
Thank you.